And our father obviously had a very good opinion of the young Shah because after Khomeini came to power, our father wrote a letter to the young Shah and commiserated with him about the fact that Khomeini came to power and what kind of terrible regime he brought into the country, and told him in the letter how he owed him for the fact that he saved our family, and now he felt that such terrible things had come to his country. So he obviously must have felt that the Shah was a good ruler.
And a good person.
And a good person at the same time, yeah.
پدر ما واقعا نظر خوبی در مورد شاه جوان داشت. برای اینکه بعد از رسیدن خمینی به قدرت، پدر ما نامه‌ای به محمد رضا شاه نوشت و در مورد دردسری که دولت خمینی به ایران آورده است با او همدردی نمود. در نامه‌اش نوشته بود که چقدر به شاه ایران مدیون است که جان او و خانواده‌اش را در جنگ جهانی دوم حفظ کرده و چقدر متاسف است که وضع بدی در ایران حکم فرما شده. بنابراین پدرم واقعا احساس می‌کرد که شاه به خوبی ایران را هدایت می‌کرد و انسان خیلی خوبی نیز بود. این نامه چند روز قبل از 5 مرداد ماه 1359 به دست اعلی حضرت رسید و چون شاهنشاه در بستر بیماری بودند نتوانستند به آن پاسخ دهند و شهبانو فرح پاسخ این نامه را فرستادند که شما کپی آن را ملاحظه می‌فرمایید.
Okay, well, we very much appreciate you taking your time out to join us for this interview. First off, I'd like to ask your permission if we may broadcast this video on Iranian satellite TV. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, perhaps place of birth, background, religion, etc.?
Well, I was born in 1938 in Tehran, nine days after my parents arrived from Poland. We are Jewish, yes, but non-believers, just, we've spent our happy years of the Second World War in Iran. My father left in October 1944 for Poland when the eastern part of Poland was liberated, and I went back with my mother end of January 1945. So I've spent 6.5 very happy years in Iran.
Okay, so when was it exactly that your family moved to Iran, and why?
It must have been my uncle who arrived in Iran in 1923. He was the first one of my mother's family. Probably he was smart enough to know what's brewing in Europe, and he got the whole family to Iran before the outbreak of the Second World War.
I don't think that was the only reason.
I think that was the reason.
I don't think it was the only reason.
Maybe not, but that's what, when I think about it now.
But 28, don't forget, was pretty early.
No, he was there in 23.
23,
but he brought our mother's older sister in 36. All the members of the family started coming to Iran after Hitler
came to power. But he went early.
Oh, he went early because he was an adventurer. That was all, and he found his way there, and we owe it to him that he brought us the whole family out of Poland.
Okay, so how many family members were there that moved?
In Iran, that was 1, 2, 3. There were 1, 2, 3 siblings, and he was the fourth, and each had a husband or wife, so that was 8 adults, and then children came.
Okay, well, who was the king in Iran during that period?
When we arrived, it was the old Shah, as we used to call it at home, and from what I remember, he abdicated after the Soviet Union. According to, also from what I remember, there was a pact between Persia and the Soviet Union in 1921 between Lenin, and they occupied, when the Germans attacked the Soviet Union, the Soviets occupied the northern part of Persia. So that was 1941.
Okay.
And shortly afterwards, I think, he abdicated. I'm not sure about that. But I remember the young Shah, as we called him.
Now I understand that some of your family was still in Poland. Is that correct?
It was our father's family was still in Poland, and none of them survived.
Okay, what exactly happened to them during that period?
We're not exactly 100% sure. They either perished in the ghetto of the little town in which they lived, or else in a concentration camp that was close to that ghetto. But not a single person survived.
He had 3 brothers. The oldest one was already married with
and
2
had a
children.
child,
Yeah.
2 children.
2 children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his father?
Yeah, and his father.
Okay. This was around the same time that King Reza left Iran and his son Muhammad Reza occupied the throne in his place. Is it true that Muhammad Reza Shah let you stay in Iran because he knew that your lives would be in danger if you were to return to Poland?
Oh, I'm sure he was aware of that, and there was no question of us going back, though my mother was very anxious to go back, but somehow she got persuaded because she was she was missing her land, but somehow she got persuaded, and fortunately we stayed throughout the Second World War in Iran, and that's why we survived.
Okay, so what's your view on the Holocaust?
In what sense? What's my view?
Well, what exactly do you think of it?
Well, I think it was a tragedy to the Jewish people because 6 million of them perished in very dire circumstances, and there weren't that many that survived it.
Most of the people who survived were the ones who managed to escape.
We would also like to know what you think, not about the Iranian government that's in place right now, but about the people of Iran in general, either during your time or right now.
From what I remember, they were very forthcoming, very friendly. I remember many times when a shopkeeper was so-called closing his store, there was just a piece of cloth, no locks, no nothing, and no one entered it because everybody knew that the shopkeeper is having a break.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't heard of any robberies or that sort of thing.
Where did you live during that time?
We lived in Tehran on Ferdowsi Street, and I remember playing there with Persian kids. At that time I spoke Farsi, not anymore unfortunately. And I remember Lalezar Street and Shahreza Street, and remember walking there because when I was 5 years old I went to an American school there, and I had to walk that distance to get there.
Do you remember anything about the sights, what the city was like? Was it lively?
It was very lively. I remember there was a beautiful cafe garden close to Shahreza, and I used to go there with my mother quite often. And must have been towards the end of our stay there, more or less, because I remember American soldiers coming to that cafe garden, and it was very beautiful, really beautiful.
What did you think of the regime at that time? How was young Shah? Was he taking care of things the way it should have been?
From my perspective, it seemed that he was taking care of the people. I remember my father speaking that he was modernizing the country because there were many illiterate people prior to that, and there were schools set up for children to attend. One more thing that I remember the Tehran conference too, when Roosevelt, Churchill and Stalin arrived, and they were having conferences in the Soviet embassy. Don't remember exactly on what street that was. And I also remember another thing, when the Soviets occupied the northern part of Iran, all the people that hailed from Europe were asked to come to the British compound, and we stayed, I don't remember whether it was one night in a day or 2 nights in a day. All the so-called Europeans were at the British compound.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, very welcome.